All right, welcome back. Good morning. This is Dre again, and we are continuing our class for the HRIS module. And today we are going to be starting with the benefit of HRIS. A quick recap on the things we talked about yesterday. We talked about what HRIS is, the introduction, the history, how it came about, and then how HR used to manage uh, the functions of HR in the past when we do not have technology, and we see how cumbersome and how tedious it was. So, and we looked at okay, bringing HRS into the system. What are the possible things? How did it affect those days, and how did it change things? So, in today's class, we're going to be beginning with the benefit of HRIS, and just like we talked about some of the things that HRIS is or the functions, the features that HRIS offers, we will be looking at a few benefits this morning. Okay, so diving into it directly, one of the first benefit of HRIS is, like we mentioned yesterday, database is for record keeping. I mentioned that you have the opportunity to get a candidate in your database from the job call all the way to when the employee is either resigning or terminated if such employee is employed in the company. So what the HRIS does is that it helps you keep track of that record from that moment the candidate submit their CV into your system, and as they progress in their interview, as they progress where you give them an employment offer, as they progress in the organization, as they get promoted, as they move forward, up to the point where they are either resigning or they are either terminated or they are leaving the organization. The system keeps the record of that information, and not only keeps the record. When the candidate comes in, the only thing that comes with the candidate is the CV. But as time goes on, as the candidate progresses, when the candidate is employed, other data are added, personal data, what's it called now? Uh, the data concerning family, uh, demographic data. There we have financial data, that's salaries and benefits. We also have what is called the data about performance, the work performance of the employee. So as the candidate grows in the organization, those information also increases. And then by the time the candidate is leaving or is resigning or is being terminated, you know, the candidates that came with just a CV, maybe a two-page, three-page CV, will have quite a number of record or file concerning that employee in the organization. So the human resource system helps the organizations to change that file. I'm sure if you still go to some very old organization, probably like the Secretariat or some very old organization, you will see where they have staff files and you have mountains of files and shelves and the likes, rows of shelves and different files on them containing different employees. I mean, you see some employees, their own file is thin, and their own file is, some employees, their own file is thick. Yeah. Also, another record that is going to be in there is record about query and all that and all that. What's it called? Query awards and all the likes. Those are part of the record that is going to be in the system. So the HRIS helps to keep such record. Another thing is efficiency. Like we mentioned yesterday, efficiency is key in the sense that now human resource officers do not have to wait months before they can sort CVs. Human resource officers do not have to go through the problem of sifting through thousands and thousands of paper just to get a qualified candidate. So it increases efficiency and effectiveness. First and foremost, the moment an application is submitted, the ATS in the HRS will have screened away uh, the unwanted candidates as it has been set in the system, and then that alone is enough to take away the headache of the human resource officer. Because assuming 10,000 people apply for a position and you only need five people, the 8 years will most likely sift away almost 9,500, or if not up to 9,800 CVs, only bringing relevant CV. So at the end of the day, the HR only has to deal with probably 100 to 150 CVs. So that is efficiency. It reduces the time that you have, and you can see within weeks or within days, you already have the candidate that you want shortlisted. So the HRS, another benefit is it gives efficiency. It helps the organization to be efficient, the HR manager to be efficient. Another thing is that it helps the organization in crafting their human resource strategy. You know, because of the things that are available in the system, the data, the information available, you can predict what you want to do over time. You know, HR strategy is okay. What direction do we want to go for this quarter? What direction do we want to go for this year, based on the things that we are seeing, based on the data that is available in the system. So that will help the HR officer and the organization as a whole to be able to, you know, develop a comprehensive strategy that will help them to fulfill their goals for the quarter, the year, depending on what they are planning for. So the information available to them can help them to make informed decisions, so they don't have to guess. Unlike before where those data are not available, and then we just have to take it as a day at a time. Let's make decisions as we go. But with HRS, the HRS system in place, you can you can plan ahead based on the available information in the system. Also, this system also allows you to be very compliant. For organization who likes to be government compliant, policy compliant, from the system, you can set it in such a way that you don't have to be bothering your head. You don't have to be bothering your mind about, okay, let's remember uh this tax. Let's remember that tax. Let's remember HMO. Let's remember NHIS. Because the moment you set your HRM in place, you will have installed, while you have configured the things that you want in place. Okay, for this policy, employees should pay this percentage of tax every month, from their deduction. For every employee at a particular level, they must be qualified for NHIS or HMO, and you understand all those benefits. So you can set that in your human resource system, and then automatically at the end of each month, the system calculates that for you, and the account will be able to have access to it and make the necessary deposits where they are supposed to go. So HRS helps organization to be compliant to uh, policies around. So all these things is one way or the other cutting the amount of job that the employee who is in charge of human resources has to do. Also, HRS can also be self-service. So instead of the HR officer being the one in charge of, okay, oh, Mr. A, please can you provide your information? Mrs. B, can you send your details concerning this? The human resource system can be self-service where each employee can log in into the account, log in into the system, and update their own information. So they can do some level of activity. Now, note when I said some level of activity, reason is because they will not be able to do some task, because the permission that will be given to them will only be to update their information and then view every other thing. So at that point, an HR officer cannot say, let me see my salary. Oh, they are paying me 10,000. Let me increase it to 15. by myself. No, he will not. The staff will not have that kind of permission. So that is can only be set by the HR and then HR supervisor. So the self-service option allows employees to be able to update their own data, update their own system, and then let all the information in the system be uniform. Okay, so those are some of the benefits. There are more benefits, but those are the key and important ones in relations to the in relations to the main use of the human resource information system. Okay, yeah. So moving on, what are the functions? Okay, what can we use HRS to do? What are the things we can use it to do? Is it just for managing employee, or there is more to it, or that? So the the major function that human resource information system can do, we can break it into three or more because it depends on the organization. So if it's a large organization, then it can be more. But if it's a small organization, it is usually limited to three. So we are going to be looking at this point. We are going to be looking at uh, the three, and this three can use usually for small businesses. And then in the next slide, we're going to be seeing more functions that bigger organizations may use. So for smaller organizations, the ATS function is one of the functions in the human resource. And what does that one do? It helps organization to track, to manage their recruitment process. So what does that do? A job call is placed on whatever channel that the organization is using to put out the job call. And at that point, before the job call is placed on the board, what is done is that the organization, the HR officer, would have set the criteria for that job position. Okay, these are the skills that we need, the important skills, that's the must have skills will be set. The skills that, okay, if you don't have them, you can still pass, you can still come in, it will be there. And then the keyword that the system should look out for in the CVs of those who submit their their CV, it will specify the keyword. So those things are what the ATS will take. Now, when the job call is out and people are applying, the first thing that happens is that when the application comes into the system compares the CV of the employee, of the applicant, to the criteria that has been set by the HR in the ATS. And then the system checks how many percent of the keyword that has been set here is in the CV. What are the must have skills that has been set here that is in the CV? Uh, what are the things that they don't want to see that has been said that is in the CV, just to check. And most likely, in most cases, the pass mark is usually set at 6%. Usually set at 60, not 60% a pass for a pass CV. Some organizations set it at 70. Some organizations set it at 80. So, meaning that if the CV matches the criteria in the system at 80% rate, then such CV is accepted as passed. Any other thing less than 80 will be rejected. For those who set it at 60, if the CV is a 60% match, uh, every other thing less than 60 is marked as rejected. And the beautiful thing about ATS is that immediately they are rejected, it sends them a rejection mail that has been set also by the HR officer. So immediately they are getting a rejection mail. So if you have, I'm sure probably you have tried to apply before, and maybe after some minutes you applied, you get a, we are sorry, unfortunately we are proceeding with other candidates, all this kind of thing. Yeah, that's the ATS talking to you, not even the HR. All right. So the ATS sees CV that are not qualified. Now, the disadvantage of this is that sometimes the ATS may screen out better candidates, not because the candidate is not good, but because of probably poor presentation of series of their CV. So the fact that a CV passes the ATS system does not mean that that candidate is the best. The candidate may just have what's it called a CV probably formatted and targeted to that particular role. So if you go online and there are several AI tools that helps you to build your CV according to the job role. So we have different AI tools online, JobScan, Recruiter, something, all those tools, all those websites where you can go and copy the job description and match it to your CV. So the AI tool will pick out the keywords in the job description and use it to reframe your CV, and put your CV in such an order. And then you can also grade your CV. Okay, so for this job, the ATS is looking at 70, and then your own CV is 80%. So if you submit your CV for that kind of job, you're going to be called for the next stage. So people are doing that now. So, but the ATS, I don't think so far so good has not been trained to be able to get that. People are padding their CV for that purpose. So padding series is common now, unlike before. So ATS is not. That's the major disadvantage of ATS. It's not a guarantee that you get the best candidate. Okay, yeah. So another function of human resource information system for small businesses, payroll. So they basically use it for to manage the payroll of their staff. So okay, we don't want to do it manually. We want to be able to impute benefits, compensations, and every other thing in that, and then let the system calculate it for us automatically. Yeah, so that is another option. That's another option that they use it for. So the system takes into consideration all the necessary things that makes up the payroll. If in an organization, if time and attendance is considered as part of the criteria for payment, the system takes that into consideration. Uh, if what's it called again? If what's it called? Performance is another thing, and the some ATMs also takes that into consideration. So at the end of the month, that calculation is being made, and then they put all together how much the employee is entitled to at the end of the month. And then, like I mentioned in the payroll benefit administration, we want to calculate what are the other things apart from the basic salary, what are the other benefits that is accrued to this employee? How do I calculate them? So all those things. So the HR will have specified for each employee, depending on the category and the level of the employee, these are the level, these are the benefits that accrue to each level. So the moment an employee gets to a particular level, automatically the system applies the benefits and compensation to the employee's payments at the end of the month. So those are the basic uh, HRS function for small businesses. For small businesses, but for larger organization, they have more, they do more, and for them, we are going to be looking at what are the other things they do with their own human resource information system function. So, in case you get into a larger organization, you might have to see your HRIS doing more than just these three functions. And That's what we're going to be seeing in the next slide. All right. So in this slide, yeah, you will see notice that we have more functions here than just the three, though the three is also still part of this, but now we have more things to do with the human resource information system. So in this case, we have the ATS, we have talked about before, we have the payroll, which we have talked about before, we have the benefit administration, which we have also talked about before, but we also have more, maybe like 7 or 8 more functions that HRS can do. And like I mentioned, for bigger organizations, they do use this more so that they can have their system all in one place instead of having a different system scattered all around. So another thing you can use HRS for, another function that the HRS can offer is training. Yeah, so some HRS system comes with the learning management system, uh, where employees of an organization learn about the product of the organization, or if they have any other thing they want to learn. So, for example, there used to be in the telecommunication industry, there was a system that they use, and that system you going to be learning about the product as they release new they kind of release products as often as possible. So as they release new products, you check, you go and learn about the product, take a test or an exam after the learning to see whether you understand the product or not. So it is already embedded in the system without having to go out of the organization or of the company. So training. And then we have what we call succession planning. So succession planning, these are some of the data, like we mentioned in the benefits. These are some of the benefits. So succession planning is based on this data in the system. You can use that to predict, okay, this is the person that is doing this job. This is the employee that is doing this job. And then this is another employee that is doing something closely related to it. So with that in mind, we can start preparing this person to take over from this person if this person is leaving or if this person's leave. So with the human resource information system, you can craft a good strategy to create a better succession planning where an employee leaves the organization, you have somebody already in place that you're already grooming for that position. So the data provided by the HRS makes it possible for you to see that, makes it possible for you to see that at a glance. Another function is performance management. So with the human resource management system, you can monitor performance, how an employee is doing, what they need, or what are the blockers to they are doing well. These are some of the things, and the data you generate from here can also help you to discover one or two things. We talked about HR strategy in the benefits. So this succession planning function and the performance management function helps, and the reporting analytics function helps the organization and the HR officers to know, to plan, okay, with the way this person is behaving, with this performance, I'm not sure this person is going to last in the system. I'm not sure the organization is going to, keep this person for long. So you can start planning. You can use that to create a strategy for your next quarter, for your next month, or for your next year. You understand? So the system, the function, one of this function is performance management. Yeah. Performance management. You can monitor an employee's performance through the system with with this HRIS system, and you can, help an employee quickly to handle what's it called now? Whatever issues they're having, probably an employee who has been doing well before, and you suddenly noticed from the report of that employee that, okay, this person is not performing as high as he used to. Then the HRS shows you that, then you can call the employee in for a counseling session or a chit chat to find out what is going on with them, if they need help with anything, and the likes and the likes. So the system gives you that opportunity. We already talked about self-service in the benefit. So The system is built in such a way that each employee can have an account on it, and then they can do their own thing, edit their own information, biodata, and the likes. But like I said, permission rules and permissions are granted based on who is assessing the system. So for an employee who is just in the say customer service department, the only permission that we granted to them is just to view and to edit their own information. So that does not include salary information. So they cannot edit salary information. And most times, a secure HRS systems has the AAA factor to monitor security. So that's uh, authorization, authentication, and accountability, I think. So with that one, the system knows who does what and who can do what and who is permitted to do what. You understand? So authorization, you need authorization from what's it called? You need authorization from probably a superior officer to be able to approve that change, or what's it called? Do you even have access to do it at all? Or number two, do you have the permission to even access the system at all? So those are the three functions to secure the system. And another one is time and attendance here, like you mentioned in the for the smaller organization functions. Time and attendance, some organization uses as part of uh, important criteria for their payment. So if you're late, if you're absent, will be deducted, all those ones. Yeah. So it's built into the system, and the system allows you to calculate that at the end of the month to make payment. And then finally, reporting and analytics. So this is the most important part of it, because it is this function that you will use to be able to monitor almost everything and everyone in the organization. So you can generate a report. Why are we not doing well this quarter? And then with that, you see the performance of all the employees. Okay, why are we paying more this quarter? And with that, you can see, oh, we have a lot of high performance this month. Uh, and then the payments that is made to them, all that. So the reporting and analytics function gives you the opportunity to be able to uh, query the system, find out things you like to know about the organization, about the employees, and about their performance. Okay, so moving on, we will be looking at types of human resource system. Like I mentioned yesterday, different people call the human resource system different things. So, and different companies offer them as different things. So, some people, these are the different ways that the system is being offered. So, some people can build the software and they say, okay, we have an ATS. And at that point, they are only offering the ATS. Do you understand? Though the system might do more at some point, but basically it is just the 8 years. So at that point, they won't say, okay, this is our HRS. They will still call it an HRS, but what they have at that point is just 8 years. Another system type is onboarding. That one is just for onboarding. It's just for onboarding the employee. Okay, we have done our recruitment through whatever means. Okay, now so we want to bring them on board. Let them know about the our culture and all that. Let them know about what else again, what the organization is all about, and this and that. Yeah. So onboarding is a system that does that. Now, a comprehensive human resources information system is supposed to have all these in one. Just like we mentioned the functions in the for the big corporation. A comprehensive HRS is supposed to have all of these packed together into one. You get. So, that is when we are now talking about human capital management. So that is, it includes everything, both your human resources and other part of your human resources, the your system and your people, that's human capital. But most softwares, depending on the size of organization, what they want. Some people, some organization want to say, okay, I don't need performance management. What am I monitoring? I don't need learning management. I don't need employee engagement. I don't need payroll. So some organization will say, okay, I don't need ATS. I can do it by myself. You understand? So they just choose what they want, and they're like, so another organization, some people just see it as offer it as just performance management. I've seen a software that what they offer is the performance management, but they offer some of the other things, like they offer employee engagement on the side, they offer payroll management on the side. But the major thing, the major function they are selling is the performance management aspect of it. And they were just like, okay, this one we do this one. You can predict what your employee will do and this and the like. So different organization offers the HRS in different way. They might It does not necessarily mean that they won't offer the other functions. They will, but that might not be the major thing they are focusing on. Their major focus might be on a particular function. So, like the one I said, their major function, their selling point was the performance management. So they were not bothered about whether employee engagement, payroll management. They were not bothered about that. Even though it is still in the system, you can use the system to do that, but they do not amplify that. They were amplifying the performance management more. So that's their selling point. So different organizations have built different things like that, and they push the most important one as the selling point. They push the most important one that they want as their own selling point, and then they push it. So it does not mean that the system does not have all the other functions under them. They see some of them still do, but they just don't magnify them. The same thing with learning management. Some people will push visually the learning management system and say, okay, this is our major selling point. This is our major product, but they still have the employee engagement and other things embedded in it. Same with payroll management system. Uh, some people say, okay, we are only managing payroll. We don't do all that thing. But how can you manage payroll without the information of the employee and all the other things, benefits, time and attendance, and all those things? So they still do some of those things, but they just sell the one that appeals to them, or the one that they feel is different from what other people are offering. And then what also happens is that, like I mentioned, a standard human resource uh, information system comprises of all this. But usually the cost is the challenge that allows most small businesses to go for the ones they can afford. So the ones they can afford, they usually don't offer all those 15 functions of HR. They just offer a few of them, and then they they deliver that to the small businesses. So, and lastly, in this class, we're going to be looking at what HRS versus HRMS versus HCM. So, like I mentioned, your human capital management is a composition of both your human resource management system and your human resource information system. So, your human capital is the total when it comes to the totality of your human workforce. Now, human workforce, some organizations they use robots, especially in the manufacturing sector. So we're not talking about robots. Robot does not have feelings, does not have emotions. Well, except the new ones they are building now. But we're talking about the human factor of your organization, the HCM, the human resource management system, and the human resource information system. So those two makes up your human capital management. So everything you do is can be split under those two. And then when you talk about the human resource management system, you are talking about, okay, what do we do to improve the people. What do we do to improve the people? So that's where you talk about recruiting the people, how to plan who takes over from them, compensation, how much do we give them, you know, how do we improve them, learning and all that. But when it comes to the human resource information system of it, then you are talking about things we can things we can do behind the scene. Now, it is not directly to the people, but it is like an attachment behind the scenes, things that we can do, like a motivation of sort, things that we can do to help these people be better. Do you understand? And there, that's what we talk about management, employee engagement, uh, the self-service, reporting analytics, and all that. So that one is not directly to the human, not directly to the person. It is things that, you know, part of the things that enhance the ones that we do to them directly. Yeah, so that's basically what the two comprises. So you are dealing with the person directly and the other things that you have to do to make those things you are doing to them directly to work perfectly or better. All right. So with that, I think we've come to the end of the class today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get uh, a hands-on a hands-on video where we're going to be looking at different softwares, what they offer, and how to use them. So I want to believe that with that we should be able to do one or two things, and also you also can research what are the different human resource information system that is in the market, and just sign up for it. Most usually have a trial version for maybe a 7 day, 14 days, or even 3 days. So you can just sign up and try to have your hands around them, see what it looks like, see what they offer, which of the functions do they offer, and then just play around with it to have an idea of how some of this system runs. And hopefully we'll be able to try one or two together also, and then that will wrap up the module for this session for this module. Thank you very much. I've been Dre. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have learned one or two in this session. Bye for now.